Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jumal Mubarak to everyone. I hope that everyone had a safe and healthy Eid, inshallah. Sorry, there's some feedback on the back. Sorry about that. Thank you for joining our Friday lecture. Today we're joined by Ustadh Ahmad Ansari. Today's topic is understanding responsibility and accountability. Ustadh Ahmed actually did a few lectures for us during Ramadan, mashallah, and just to give you some background on him, he's the principal for Darul Ihsan Middle School and High School in Piscataway, and he's a regular speaker at MCMC and other masjids in New Jersey. Ustadh, are you there?
Yes.
Can you begin? You can begin, inshallah. Yep, you can. Yep, go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور نفوسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الأحد الصمد الفرد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه أشهد بأنه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة وكشف الله عز وجل به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين اللهم صل وسلم عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وعلى أبصاره وأحبابه وعلى جميع من استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه وسار على نهجه إلى يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ثم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. My dear respected community members and everyone, I hope inshallah you had a wonderful Ramadan, the home Ramadan experience, a unique Ramadan that we spent in our homes. And I also congratulate you on Eid al-Fitr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your siyam, your qiyam, your fasting, your acts of generosity and kindness during this blessed month of the Quran. Now Ramadan is over. So the ibadat and the fasting and the act of worship that we did, and we try to sincerely change ourselves. Because Ramadan is a month of change. And the higher goal and purpose that we try to achieve is taqwa, is the righteousness, the piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we become more righteous personalities. The individuals change, the societies change. That's how a positive change comes into the communities. And what would be better if we all act and discharge our obligations with the feeling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us. Whatever I say, whatever I do, my decisions, my relationship, my treatment, my actions, is being guarded and monitored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So since we came out of the month of training, the month of fasting, and we try to sincerely change ourselves, it will be better to act with the same feeling and to continue doing the same good habits that we developed during Ramadan. That's why I thought it will be appropriate for me to talk about this topic, which is understanding responsibility and accountability. We are all responsible people, responsible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, responsible to my families, to my communities, and we have to act responsibly. Now, I personally believe that we cannot become purely responsible unless we understand what actually responsibility is. What is the meaning of mas'uliyah? Mas'uliyah is the Arabic word which means responsibility, the concept of responsibility. Right? How and we can be more responsible. And as I said, that we cannot be responsible unless we properly understand the concept, the meaning, the demands of responsibility. In the same way, if we become responsible, we are by default accountable. So responsibility and accountability go hand in hand. We think we are, or we think we are not, but we are responsible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are accountable for all our actions and sayings and treatment and relationship. So in this talk on a Friday, inshallah, I'll go through explaining the meaning, examples, benefits, the virtues of being responsible, as well as we will talk about the consequences of not being responsible. Because sometimes we do not act with responsibility. And at times we become very, very responsible, which is a very good thing. So in Arabic, there is a saying, فَاقِدُ الشَّيْءِ لَا يُعْطِي. A person who does not possess knowledge, does not try to understand, he cannot give to someone else. For example, if I do not know Quran, I cannot teach Quran to someone else. If I do not know a certain skill, I cannot transfer to someone else. So because we are role models and we are responsible, we are fathers, mothers, in charge, working in responsible positions. So for us, we need to understand what actually responsibility is, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do, expectations of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that in our life, a 24-hour schedule in our life, we discharge our responsibilities by being fully aware and knowledgeable of the requirements of responsible behavior. The mas'uliyah, the word mas'uliyah or responsibility has three meanings. One is called taklif, not the ordinary word taklif that we use in Urdu, but taklif means when you burden someone with responsibility. So when someone gives me a responsibility, it means I am burdened to do that. The second one is called ikhtibar, is a test. So as soon as the responsibility falls, we're being tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's burdening with the task and the test. And the third meaning of responsibility is ibtila, which means that we're being tested and tried by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in simple words, it means that we are responsible for the results and the consequences of our actions, what we say, whatever decisions we take. Every single person from the community is first and foremost is responsible in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us or gives us consequences exactly in accordance of our actions. So for that, we need to be mindful. If we are mindful that we are on the right track and we're doing things in the right manner, then that action will become an action of responsibility. Because we are aware that if action is not right, there is possible consequences by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now to go further, we need to understand few facts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned few facts in the Quran for us to better understand and to get self-motivated to act more responsibly. أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Ayah 115, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about responsibility. He says, do you think that we have created you without any purpose in life? You're just gonna live life just like that, and you do not have any purpose, any responsibility of burden? وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And do you think that you will not be returning to us? So remember that you are responsible, you have tasks, certain responsibilities that you have to do, and then the performance will be judged by us, because ultimately we will be returning to us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will account us. That's the first one. Now, what is amazing to note, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, there is mursalun. Mursalun, who are mursalun? The Anbiya alayhi salam, the messengers of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-A'raf, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. This questioning and accountability process is the same for between the nations and their prophets. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we will definitely question the people whom the messengers are being sent, as well as وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and we will question the messengers too, about if they sincerely delivered the da'wah or conveyed the message. Same way, and alhamdulillah, we got the message from the prophets of Allah. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought us the message. We have the Quran, we got the message. So now, if we are acting on the message, if we are changing, the how of our doing things will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna as-sam'a wal basara wal fu'ada kullu ulaika kana anhu mas'ula. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that there are three tools of learning. Inna as-sam'a, the faculty of hearing, wal basara, and the faculty of sight, eyes, wal fu'ada, and the heart, are being questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever we hear, we learn. Whatever we see, we learn. And the information that we keep it in the heart, that's also a source of learning. So these are the divine tools of learning. It means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a message that I gave you the tongue to speak, to hear, and eyes to see. Use it wisely. Be careful, because if you do not use it wisely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you are responsible, and I will question you on the day of judgment if you do not use those divine tools wisely to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to obey. So this ayah also tells us that we do not have no choice but to act responsible in our life. And last, the fact that beautiful hadith of Rasulullah where he says, Kullukum ra'in. Each one of you is like a ra'i. Ra'i is what? Ra'i is a person who herds the sheep, the shepherd. So a ra'i is in charge of the sheep that his master gives him. And he said, these sheep are under your care. Your job is to feed them, give them water, and take care of their well-being and safety, and bring them back all as I give it to you. So you are responsible and accountable for their safety and well-being. Similarly, we are responsible for all of those who are given under our care. First and foremost, our families, our children, people surrounding us, our neighbors, our relatives, our mashayikh, people in the masjid. So degrees of responsibilities change. So that we have to be mindful of those responsibilities. And the more we learn, my focus is on empowering ourselves with knowledge. We need to learn what is required of us, what is expected of us. And the more we learn, we will be more aware, and we will act more responsibly in our lifetime. Now, let's talk about some of the benefits. A responsible person is way better, way respected in the community than the person who is not responsible. So I will share with you 4 benefits. There are maybe a lot of benefits of being responsible, but I will share 4 of them. Number 1, اكتساب الاحترام الذاتي. That's the biggest one, the first one. By being responsible, you gain self-respect. If we act responsible at our home in the community, then everyone knows and recognizes and takes me as a responsible person. He trusts me and he says, this brother, this sister is responsible. He always is aware of what he's doing, and his way of doing things is being guarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first is when a person becomes responsible, he gains self-respect. Two, حصول احترام الآخرين. By being responsible, a person learns how to respect others because he is responsible. So if I'm responsible, I'm always mindful of someone else. I have to love him. I have to respect him. I have to be careful when I talk. I have to be careful when I deal with him, when I talk to him, when I communicate with him, when I live with him, when I go with him, because I am responsible. So responsibility also makes me responsible to someone else or to respect someone else. The third one is bigger. The bigger benefit is زيادة مقدرة الكفاءة للعمل. Being responsible increases my personal capacity to produce. So when I'm responsible, I can do way more than when I'm doing something when I'm not responsible. Either I don't understand responsibility, or I don't care for it, or I ignore it, neglect it. Either way. So when I am aware and I act responsible, I am able to produce more. It increases my capacity to produce. And the fourth one, اكتساب مهارة القدرة على التغيير, which means that if a person becomes responsible, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the ability to fast change. He initiates changes, positive changes, faster than the person who does not have the feeling of responsibility. So in simple words, if I teach my son to be responsible and I give him the benefits, I give him an example of responsibility, then he will be a little bit more quick to initiate positive changes in his lifetime. So earning self-respect, respecting others, increasing the capacity to perform, and increasing and enhancing the capacity to initiate positive changes. These are the four benefits that me and you had to work. And Ramadan is a wonderful month that he trains, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trains us so that we can continue these habits after Ramadan is over. Now, some of the causes that makes us act irresponsible, I'll share some of them. The scholars, they say, when a person doesn't feel that he's kind of responsible, what's the cause of it? So the number one is called الضعف الديني وقلة الإيمان. When your iman becomes weak and you're kind of weak in your deen. How a person becomes weak in deen? When he doesn't know that. A lot of people, unfortunately, they do not acquire proper knowledge of deen. And a person who does not know, a person who knows what deen is all about, he either took classes, he learns, he practices, is way more responsible, better than the person who does not learn those elements and essentials of deen. So one of the cause that makes a person irresponsible in his lifetime is actually a lack of strength in iman and weakness of knowledge about deen. The second one, qillatul himmah. He is not so motivated. He's lazy. He doesn't have raghbah. He doesn't have shauq. He doesn't have desire. He's just kind of feeling like lazy. So he wants to do it. He is capable to do it, but he's not doing it out of laziness. That also makes him irresponsible. And the third one is called عدم التربية والتعليم. Unfortunately, that person doesn't have proper basic Islamic knowledge. Nobody did that tarbiyah. Nobody taught him the manners, basic ethics. So that person also is more likely to act irresponsible in his lifetime in comparison to the one whose parents, they gave him the right ta'lim, the right environment, the right education. So that person grows with responsible behavior. And the fourth one is called al-ittikaliyya, a person who always thinks that someone else can do my job. He always blames others. He always depends on someone else. That person is also, it's called at-taharrub min al-masuliyya, fleeing or running away from responsibility. So anytime we assign someone a task, but he feels that someone else can do that, my job. So whatever my job is, this is my job. I'm responsible for it. If I do not do my job, nobody is responsible except me, and nobody is accountable except me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will account each and every individual who neglects any responsibility. And subhanallah, this dunya that we live in is full of responsibilities. We have 20 million responsibilities on us. So in the next few minutes, inshallah, I will share with you a list of some responsibilities that we should be all mindful. We cannot ignore. We cannot neglect those because there is consequence. There is khasara, there is loss in ignoring those. And how can we ignore it? Simply because we did not try to learn. So my emphasis as an educator is to empower yourself with the right knowledge. If you do not know anything, please try to learn, because the life is short. The clock of life is ticking. Every single day we're growing. There is a possibility that we can, die. For example, we go to this world, and subhanAllah, we didn't have enough time to learn something which makes me more responsible. So Ramadan experience is a wonderful experience that we come out of Ramadan having all these good habits. If we try to improve and focus more on increasing and learning about what makes me more responsible, that will be a wonderful, wonderful thing. So some of the major responsibilities, I'll share with you some, so that just to be mindful. The first and foremost responsibility is called al-mas'uliyatu ad-diniyya wa at-takalif al-shar'iyya. Is our dini responsibilities. We are responsible and required to learn basic fundamentals of our deen so that we can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the excellence unless and until he devotes some time and he learns. Because if we do not learn, we end up making mistakes. We end up performing our rituals wrongly with mistakes. And that's completely wrong. So during the schedule, during the day, us adults and also our children and families have to spend at least 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 hour, 2 hours a week to learn and update our dini education. Then we have al-mas'uliyatul akhlaqiyya. We're responsible to behave well, to demonstrate good manners, good akhlaq, good character, so that inside of us we have iman. If iman is stronger as a result of good iman, all actions that come out, we define it as akhlaq. These are the basic manners. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you possess the excellent, outstanding character. And that's why there's a lot of emphasis of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on having or practicing good manners. And also good manners will not come unless we learn about them. So in Ramadan, we by default become good. So let's motivate myself and you to become good. Your behavior, your conduct, akhlaq, dealing with people, with smile, with respect. So all these habits should continue. Then the third one is called tarbiyatul ahli wal awlad, that we need to do the tarbiyah for the family, for the children, and we are required also to, or responsible to, create a loving environment where we can grow, our children can grow, because environment, impacts life. If you leave someone in a good environment, he turns out to be good. Similarly, if someone is in a bad company, bad environment, we know the result, what happens. So that's why this is also one of our keen responsibilities, especially when we live in this country. Indecent exposures, there's a lot of inappropriate things out there. So then we are also responsible to be watchful, to be careful about our children, because they go to schools. So we need to create a nice, loving environment, and we are responsible to do tarbiyah for our families. Then comes number 4, our responsibility towards others. It can be our relatives, far and near relatives, our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, everybody, because we are nice, we are responsible. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Muaz bin Jabal radiallahu anhu, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. To Muaz or Abu Hurairah, when you behave well with people, and he used the word annas, like from any religion, from any ethnicity, from other communities, not only Muslims. So we have to be known as people with excellent manners. That's called our responsibility with regards to others, and the habit of doing al-amr bil-ma'ruf, which is enjoining what is right, forbidding what is wrong. Then comes, we are also responsible to contribute, to participate in our masajid, in our activities, halaqat, learning of deen, activities, tarbiyah activities, where we can send our children and they can learn basic manners and akhlaq. So all these positive activities, classes, programs. Imagine I am a Muslim and I go to the masjid, but I don't participate. And mashallah, you have Al-Falah Center, that beautiful center which is being built. So my request to each one of you, have the uninterrupted schedule and habit of going there, because inshallah they will have lots of classes and fun for children, fun for youth. Then also we are responsible to do charitable works, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps us in a good shape. So we are responsible to help others. If there is something, some project, we need to take part in it. For example, donations in schools, in masajid, in centers, in other, helping other families. Needy families are there. Musa'adatul fuqara, there are poor people. Aitam, there are orphans. There are widows. And especially there are people with disability. So there is a lot that we can find to help. And if we help with our money, with our time and efforts, helping others, meaning saying thank you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you give thanks to me by sharing your wealth, your health, your talents, your skills with others, if you benefit others, then I will give you more. So for example, if you give time to benefit others, I will put barakah in your time. If you share your money and you financially help someone, I will increase your wealth. I will increase your health. So this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being thankful. And also, I should mention that in relation to masajid, that following system and rules and procedures, every masjid you go to, there are procedures. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't follow those procedures. For example, parking procedures, where to enter, where to exit, where to park, not to double park. All these procedures, we are also responsible to follow these procedures. So by being responsible, again, we gain self-respect. Um, and also maintaining cleanliness, system, organization. You know, how mothers work at home. MashaAllah, the mothers keep home nice, clean, and organized. We as adults also, we're responsible at our work, in the masjid also. So that's our also part of our responsibility. And last but not least, we need to give good suggestions. We need to help and support. Because why shouldn't I support? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made me nice and good, made me responsible. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. All the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to me, I have to mention it, I have to talk about it. And through those bounties, I have to say thank you to other people. So we need to learn how to live for others. And as far as examples of responsible people, the biggest example is our Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam led a responsible life. He did so much for us. His companions, all the Anbiya, the messengers of Allah, all the Mashayikh, all the Salaf al-Salih, they're all responsible people. And the mother, the father, the imam, for example, director or supervisor, any person with responsible position, he has to be responsible. He has to. People expect him to be responsible. Being responsibility also means that you are trusted. People trust those responsibilities. La imana liman la amanata. There is no iman, no faith for the person who does not have a concept of trust. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, he was so trustworthy, so honest that the Rasul gave him the title of Amin. And the mushrikeen of Mecca, they differed with Rasulullah. They fought wars. They mocked at him. They abused him. They did all these bad things. But at the end of the day, they said, you are a sadiq. You are true, truthful. You are Amin, trustworthy. We trust you. So we, as responsible Muslim citizens of this country and members of the community, have to be more responsible. And finally, in conclusion, how can we fulfill? I want to be responsible, but how can I perform? So a small 3 points at the end to conclude, inshallah. There is something called al-ihtimam, and there is something called al-ahamiyya. Everything which concerns me, anything which concerns me becomes important to me. So we need to take things more seriously, whatever we're doing. At any time, anything that becomes a concern, that will make me talk about that. Immediately that thing becomes important. And then when things become a concern, it becomes important. Then I started talking about helping others, and that's called a ta'awun, collaboration, individually and collectively both. Then also we need to understand what the issue is. We need to understand what the issue is, what the circumstances is, and how to deal with it. So if we do that, then again it becomes a concern and it becomes important. And at the end of the day, it makes me do that and take care of it with the responsibility. And last but not least is al-musharakat al-fi'liyya, active participation. When a person learns how to actively participate in home and outside in the community matters, it means he is showing that he's responsible. He has love, and he has care, and he has concern. And finally, the active participation has 3 elements. Number 1 is takhdeed. We need to plan things right. Tanfiz, we need to implement what we plan. And we need to do taqyim, which is evaluation. So few things that we do won't go right. So we need to change it until we do something that goes right. So this is how if we keep all these in mind, I'm sure we will become more responsible in our lifetime. And responsible people are loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By love, we're loved by the community. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end to make us all act as responsible and accept our siyam and qiyam in fasting in Ramadan. You had a wonderful Eid, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide me and you to the right path. جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم.
Ameen, Allahumma ameen. Jazakallah khair, Ustadh Ahmed, for that beautiful talk. I don't see any questions on YouTube right now, but just really quick. You gave some really good examples around akhlaq and manners, and I guess things that are make us responsible and accountable. And you mentioned parking, for example. I guess my question is how can we encourage each other in a respectful way, right? I mean, each one of us represents the ummah and the deen, but to better ourselves and hold ourselves more responsible and accountable. I know there's self-reflection, but at the same time, in a community where parking, for example, I know growing up in New York, outside the masajids, the streets are completely covered with parking around Salatul Jummah time, and it's blocking traffic. And people get upset and angry, but to better ourselves as an ummah, what do you recommend? How can we help each other to become more responsible and accountable?
Jazakallah khair. I think the best way that I can answer is I will answer it with Ramadan, with fasting. Sama actually means fasting, but Sama actually means to stay away, to control yourself, self-restraint, self-control. If we try to improve our self-restraint and we are more in control of ourselves, and when I say controlling ourselves, meaning three things: anger, emotions, and feelings. Because the way we react, so there is action, there is reaction. So if the action is good, the reaction has to be good. And if the action is bad, I'll do something bad, for example, wrong, inappropriate, in a masjid setting, in a home setting, anywhere, at my work, the reaction will be accordingly. But what is not right, I am not allowed to overreact. Because overreact, when a person is overreact, is almost 99% is based on anger. So the thing that I'm proposing is that we need to work on how we can present ourselves. And if we are really careful on how we present ourselves, because that reflects me, the way I act and react, people will have a perception about me. So if I do not overreact, if I do not, go by anger, emotions, and feelings, people had a positive impact about me. Now I'm not going to connect this with the issue of parking, for example. So, for example, if I take care of my responsibility, it means when I say give my share, I'm not responsible for others. So each person has to have this feeling that this is my share, I have to be good, then that person becomes a model for someone else. For example, 2 people, 3 people enter in the parking. One person parks his car in a right parking space, for example. And I purposely mentioned the parking because this is an issue in every masjid. And I talk about that. So the other people, like for example, I myself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make me understand I'm mature. So I shouldn't be doing things which I myself know that this is wrong. And I just do. A lot of people, they do that. It's because, as I mentioned in my talk, that people do it because normally they do not care about that. So the feeling that we should make ourselves more in control of our actions, then this irresponsible behavior won't occur for me. And that's how a change will come in the society, in the community. And of course, akhlaq, as you mentioned, if I control my actions, and on top of that, I show good actions, subhanallah, that's so wonderful. Because a lot of people, nobody, if we even tell someone nicely something, nobody gets angry. We need to change the how of doing our things, the way we conduct ourselves. So I think these 2-3 simple things, if we can do that, I think there will be a good positive change will come in the masjid environment in a gathering.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair for that.
Yeah.
Okay, inshallah. I guess that's the end of our program. Jazakallah khair for that beautiful talk, and for giving us some good pointers and guidance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you barakah, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll continue to have more programming virtually until inshallah we can meet again in person. Jazakallah khair everybody for your time.
Anytime. Yeah, just feel free to call me, inshallah, whenever you need.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
May Allah reward you and bless you.
Ameen.
جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.